Welcome back to the Midnight Narrator, where the familiar comfort of routine can lead us down a path into the unknown, and the games we play can have terrifying consequences. Tonight we explore a chilling tale of a trivia night gone horribly wrong, a story of a tavern that appears and disappears at will, and a group of friends who discover that some questions are best left unasked. Prepare to confront a reality where the line between entertainment and entrapment blurs, and the price of participation is higher than you can imagine. Join me as we unravel the haunting story of Round 4 at Lucy's. Turn down the lights, listen closely, and pray that the games you play tonight don't have you as the ultimate prize. Thursday evenings were traditionally designated for trivia. Each Thursday, my quartet of companions and I would congregate at a neighborhood eatery that presented weekly trivia contests. Being recent university graduates navigating early adulthood, this weekly ritual served as a vital link, keeping us connected amidst the burgeoning responsibilities of full-time employment and real life. Our routine was unwavering. We'd head to Benny's, secure our usual booth, and engage in 5 rounds of trivia, each round posing 5 inquiries. Laughter, drinks, and collaborative problem-solving ensued, often culminating in victory or a respectable second-place showing. This pattern had been our constant for months, until a message from Mark popped into our group chat. "Has anyone ever heard of Lucy's Tavern?" I scanned the message and immediately initiated a search on my digital map application. No establishment matching that name appeared, only suggestions for other pubs and lounges starting with the letter L. I typed out a response. "Nope. Whereabouts is that?" "Is someplace down Fairmont Avenue. Received a flyer in the mail advertising trivia there on Thursday. Thinking we could check out a new locale?" A slight frown creased my brow as I read his proposition. Personally, I thrived on stability and disliked deviation, even in matters as trivial as our trivia night venue. But before I could voice my reservations, Alice texted, "I'm game to explore someplace different. Winning every week at Benny's is getting a tad monotonous." Alice, I thought, always seeking the next adventure, the new experience. Knowing Jenny's tendency to align with Alice's preferences, that left only Morgan and myself as potential dissenters. I needed to respond swiftly, preempting Morgan's likely agreement. "Gary will have a coronary if we ditch Benny's tomorrow. We're practically fixtures there each week." Gary, the head bartender, was known for occasionally treating us to a complimentary round. "Come on, it'll be a blast to experience a new place," Mark insisted, clearly enthusiastic about this novel option. Mark, ever the optimist, always ready for something novel. Sigh. Before I could formulate a counter-argument, Morgan finally weighed in. "What's the harm in missing Benny's for a single week? We can assess if this new trivia is enjoyable, and if not, well, at least we ventured somewhere different." Morgan, ever the pragmatist, always seeing the logical side of things. And with that, the decision was made. The following evening, I drove slowly along Fairmont, eyes scanning the storefronts, seeking signage for Lucy's Tavern. While not residing in a metropolis, I had lived here long enough to be quite familiar with the local businesses lining the streets. This particular establishment was unfamiliar, suggesting it was a recent addition. After parking roadside, I began to walk along the sidewalk. Upon reaching the final building, I consulted the group chat for direction. "Where exactly is this place?" "Go around the corner of the bank building. There's a marker pointing towards some stairs. The tavern is downstairs." Indeed, as I rounded the bank edifice, I spotted illuminated signage with an arrow indicating a descent of stairs. No wonder it had escaped my notice. I followed the steps downwards, finding my 4 friends already seated at a table. As I approached, I briefly surveyed the space. It appeared to be a typical tavern. A lone bartender stood behind the bar, and seating arrangements comprised standard tables, high tops, and wall booths. Patronage was sparse, with only a few small clusters of people scattered around. I greeted my friends and slid into the booth beside Mark. "I never realized this place was here," I commented. "Neither did I until the advertisement arrived," he shrugged. "I wasn't aware of any other trivia venues and figured it might be fun." "I think we have a solid chance of winning," Alice murmured, Jenny nodding emphatically in agreement. "We're the largest group present." Jenny, ever the confident one, always saw the path to victory. While awaiting our appetizers and beverages, I scrutinized the other attendees. There were 2 sets of couples at separate tables, 2 trios, and another group of 4 occupying booths similar to ours. After a few minutes, our food arrived, carried by our server. I noticed a name tag on her uniform. "Are you Lucy, the owner of this tavern?" I inquired. "The one and only," she replied with a wink, sporting striking crimson lipstick and appearing to be in her 40s. "Trivia will commence momentarily." I watched as she disappeared into the kitchen, re-emerging shortly to perch on a bar stool. She held a stack of cards which she placed on the bar before clearing her throat. "So, what's the prize for the winning team?" I asked Mark, not entirely sure the advertisement only mentioned location and trivia time. He responded with a shrug. Mark's initial enthusiasm seemed to be waning, replaced by a slight uncertainty. "All right, everyone, let's get started. You should find paper and pencils at your tables. After each question, jot down your answer and bring it up to me." The format mirrored our usual trivia, 5 rounds of 5 questions, but the requirement to submit answers after each question felt somewhat cumbersome. Following each submission, Lucy would reiterate the question, reveal the answer, and award points for correct responses. Surprisingly, I found myself appreciating the immediate feedback rather than waiting until the end of each round. The initial round was general knowledge, commonplace trivia about product release years and celebrated literary works. Round 2 focused on sports, followed by geography for round 3. The initial 2 geography questions were straightforward, concerning the Pacific Ocean and a European nation. Then Lucy posed the 3rd question. "Where can you locate the inferno?" she inquired. My friends and I exchanged puzzled glances. "Like literal inferno?" Morgan questioned, her brow furrowed, a hint of skepticism in her voice. "Where can you locate the inferno?" Lucy repeated, a grin spreading across her face. "What are we supposed to say? Below the Earth's surface, the planet's core?" Jenny wondered aloud, tapping her pencil against the table, trying to logic out the answer. Alice shrugged. "I'm leaning towards the Earth's core." And that's what we recorded. Mark took the slip of paper to Lucy, who glanced at it and smiled. After the last group submitted their answer, Lucy prepared to reveal the correct response. "Where do you find the inferno?" "Well, you simply drive over to Michigan to the minuscule unincorporated community of Hell," Lucy declared, followed by a hearty laugh. A ripple of laughter spread through the tavern as the question's intended humor became clear. The subsequent 2 geography questions were standard fare. Lucy announced the team standings, our group leading, but only by a narrow margin. Then we progressed to round 4. "Round 4 commences," Lucy announced, clapping her hands. "Name the 2005 horror film starring Keanu Reeves." Instantly, everyone turned to Mark, our resident horror aficionado. "Constantine," he murmured, almost instinctively. Jenny promptly transcribed it, ever the efficient scribe, her handwriting always neat. After answer submissions, Lucy confirmed Constantine as correct. Mark, despite the creeping unease, seemed to briefly relax into his area of expertise. "Next question. Who is your least favorite person in your group?" Lucy asked. I looked at my friends, then back at Lucy, uncertain if she was serious. Alice's smile faltered, replaced by a look of genuine confusion. "Who is your least favorite person in your group? There's no right or wrong response, but you forfeit points if you don't provide an actual answer," she clarified. "What?" Morgan exclaimed, louder this time, her pragmatism colliding with outright absurdity. "What kind of question is that?" "Yeah, I'm not writing anything down," Jenny asserted, firmly planting her pencil down. "Opting out of an answer results in point deduction, and maximizing your points is in your best interest to achieve victory naturally," she said cheerfully. Awkward silence descended upon our table as we waited to see if anyone would approach Lucy with their response. No one moved. Mark shifted uncomfortably, the horror movie buff in him likely sensing a shift in tone far beyond playful trivia. "Well," Lucy chuckled, "you're given a pass on this one. But moving forward, failing to submit a legitimate answer will incur point penalties. Next question. Who is the most rational, level-headed individual in your group?" Still strange, but at least it's not offensive to answer," Alice commented, trying to inject some levity back into the increasingly bizarre situation, though her voice was strained. "I'd probably nominate Jenny," I responded, and everyone concurred. Jenny wrote her own name and delivered it to Lucy, though a flicker of apprehension now shadowed her usually confident eyes. "Excellent. Point earned," Lucy affirmed. Other groups gradually followed suit, turning in their papers. Once everyone was reseated, Lucy posed the subsequent question: "Who in your group would you sacrifice if absolutely necessary?" Complete silence permeated the tavern. Even the low murmur of conversation from the other tables ceased. "I think I've had enough of these questions," Morgan declared, pushing back her chair slightly. "I'm done with this." Her pragmatic nature had reached its limit. The trivia now clearly something much darker. The rest of us voiced agreement and began gathering cash to cover our bill, preempting any potential delay in receiving a check. Alice, though initially excited by the novelty, now looked pale, her adventurous spirit replaced by a growing fear. "I'm afraid leaving before trivia completion is not permitted," Lucy stated in a sympathetic tone that lacked sincerity. "I don't think you can actually stop us," a male voice from one of the couples at a high-top table asserted. He was donning his coat as his partner grabbed her purse. Lucy remained silent, observing the couple ascend the stairs. At the top, they were out of sight, but we heard the sound of a door being yanked unsuccessfully, followed by a string of curses. Flustered, the man descended the stairs. "The door is locked. Open the door," he yelled at Lucy. "I informed you that no one departs until trivia concludes," she clucked. "Please resume your table so we may continue." "We should be allowed to leave if we choose," Morgan argued, her voice rising, the pragmatic frustration turning into genuine anger as the reality of their situation sank in. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room, everyone scrambling to understand the situation. Jenny, always quick-thinking in a crisis, was already discreetly trying to get a phone signal, glancing at her phone screen with growing dismay. Rules are rules. Trivia commencement implies full participation. I strongly recommend continuing, as the top-ranking team will receive a truly remarkable prize, she informed us. "You can't confine us in here," a man from a different group interjected. "There is no alternative exit from the tavern," Lucy stated, and the murmuring transitioned into palpable panic. "All that's asked is trivia completion. That's all." We exchanged bewildered glances. Alice checked her phone and groaned in frustration. "Of course, no signal down here. Looks like we're stuck until trivia's over. We're already in round 4, only about 6 questions remaining," Mark reasoned, trying to maintain a semblance of calm, but his voice betrayed his growing anxiety. Reluctantly, the couple returned to their table and we followed suit, resuming our seats. 1 minute to submit answers for the previous question. Failure to submit a genuine answer results in point deduction, Lucy instructed. "She doesn't know any of us," I whispered to my friends. "Let's just write down a random name and submit it." Jenny nodded, scribbled something, and took it to Lucy. After a minute, only 3 other groups had turned in papers. Lucy reviewed the slips, tallying scores. Regrettably, no points for this round. Some neglected to submit answers, and those who did failed to truthfully identify a group member. 1 point deducted from all groups. "How the heck does she know that?" I murmured, wide-eyed, to my companions. Morgan shook her head, her usual composure completely shattered. "Next question. Last one in this round. What is the most significant sin you've ever committed? Given the multiple individuals per group, I anticipate 1 answer from each person. Individual points still contribute to your overall group score, with bonus points for truthful answers." Speechless, we sat in stunned silence. "Should we attempt to leave again?" Jenny whispered, her voice trembling slightly despite her attempt at composure. "I wouldn't advise it," Lucy said, her crimson lips stretched into a broad smile. "Just see it through. Only 1 round left. Your group is in the lead, in your best interest to maintain that." "Why keep saying that? What even is the first-place prize?" A woman from one of the trio tables inquired, her voice laced with desperation. "You'll discover soon enough. If I were you, I'd exert maximum effort to secure that top spot," Lucy replied. "Now submit those answers." Ignoring her, The women from the trio walked towards the staircase anyway. We heard them pushing against the door, but apparently without success, as they dejectedly returned downstairs shortly after. Well, somehow she knows if we're lying, so we have to give honest answers, Alice deduced, her voice flat. The earlier excitement completely extinguished. About the worst sin we've ever done? This is seriously messed up, Morgan retorted, her voice tight with anger and fear. This woman is clearly unhinged, but we all have to answer individually. We don't have to share our answers, but I think we should just be truthful. Mark reasoned, his usual jovial tone replaced by a grim determination. Screw it, yeah, I just want out of here, let's just answer. I agreed. The initial desire for stability, now a desperate craving for escape. I paused, considering my own past transgressions. Cheating on my high school girlfriend came to mind, a long-held source of remorse. While hardly a marital offense, I wrote adultery cheating on my slip and turned it in. Lucy accepted it, reading it and winking at me. Returning to the table, I sat down. After everyone reluctantly submitted their answers, an unsettling silence descended as Lucy meticulously reviewed the papers, recording scores. She then announced the team rankings, our group maintaining its lead. We've reached the final category, Lucy declared. First question, what is your deepest fear? While unsettling, it wasn't as disturbing as the sacrifice question. The round continued with increasingly bizarre inquiries, including, who do you despise most in your life? If forced to kill someone, what method would you employ? Which circle of Dante's Inferno awaits you? Culminating in the grand finale. Will you return for trivia at Lucy's? My answer was a definitive, hell no. Following the last group's submission for the final question, I exhaled a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. The same man who had previously tried to leave stood again. Can we leave now? Trivia is finished. Winners haven't been announced yet, Lucy replied, still engrossed in her score sheet. Don't care about winners, we want to leave, he insisted. Well, winners leave first, she responded. She re-announced rankings with the duos last, then one of the trios. Third place went to the remaining trio. Second to the group of four, and our team announced as victors. Congratulations, Lucy beamed at our table. First place group gets to depart first, second place selects 3 to leave, third place selects 1. Gathering belongings halted mid-motion. Forget that, we're leaving, declared a woman from the last place duo. Lucy stood abruptly. No, was her only word. You can't stop us, her partner asserted, heading towards the stairs. The bartender, silently polishing glassware, stepped to the base of the stairs, blocking their path. Jenny gasped softly, her eyes widening as she recognized the threat. Let us through, the first woman demanded. The bartender remained silent, then lifted his jacket to reveal a handgun tucked into his waistband. Alice shrieked, jumping back from the table, retreating back to their table as panic surged through the room. Quiet, Lucy roared, the volume startling everyone into silence. First place group departs first. Second and third place groups 2 minutes to decide who goes and who stays, or you all remain. Guys, let's get the hell out of here, I whispered. Adrenaline coursing through me, and we hurried toward the stairs. The bartender shifted aside, allowing us passage, and we scrambled up the steps. Reaching the door first, I held my breath as I pushed. Thankfully, it swung open. We stumbled into the cool night air, backing away from the stairwell. Mark stumbled slightly but kept moving, fear etched on his face. We have to call the police, right? Alice asked, phone already in hand and unlocked, her voice trembling despite her attempt at action. Yeah, Morgan affirmed, eyes fixed on the stairwell, her usual assertiveness replaced by stunned disbelief. What just happened? Jenny whispered, staring at the ground, her usual confidence completely shattered, replaced by a deep shock. What did she mean second and third place have to choose who leaves? No one responded. Moments later, 3 others emerged from the stairwell, approaching us. We left Adam in there, one of the women said, tears streaming down her face. Please tell me you called for help. We did, Alice reassured her. Police are coming. We watched the doorway, anticipating someone from the trio to emerge, but no one did. Silence descended as we all stared at the stairwell, hoping for someone to reappear from that hellish tavern. After minutes passed, smoke began to billow up the stairwell, rising into the night. Hey, I think there's a fire, Mark exclaimed, his voice cracking with panic, and he and I rushed towards the stairwell. We rapidly descended, attempting to yank open the door, but it remained firmly shut. One of the men from another group followed us, and together we tried to kick the door in. We heard frantic banging from the other side. and the faint cries of those trapped within. "There has to be a way to open this door," I yelled to them, pulling my shirt over my mouth and nose. The panicked cries grew louder. "With what? Nothing around to use to break it down," he responded in despair, his hope dwindling rapidly. "We need to get away from this smoke." "My friend is in there," the other man said, weeping openly, his grief overwhelming him. "She said we had to leave someone or we all stay, and Adam told us to go for help." "I promised we'd return for him," he sobbed. "Help should be here soon," I said, though even I doubted timely intervention. The acrid smell of burning flesh began to permeate the air. I sensed the others detected it too as we all retreated up the stairs. I couldn't bring myself to meet the anguished gazes of the group who had left their friend behind. Minutes ticked by before distant sirens became audible. "Should we go out to the street?" "Unsure if they'll know we're around back," Jenny suggested, her practical mind trying to take charge amidst the chaos. We agreed, following her around the building to the main street. The others trailed behind, rushing to the arriving police car, frantically explaining their friend was trapped inside, requiring assistance. The responding officers, grasping the severity, followed us back around the building towards the stairwell. But something was drastically different. The illuminated tavern sign was gone. Weeds and vines now covered the railing, encircling the hole in the ground where the stairwell descended. "This is where you were?" one officer asked skeptically. "Yes," one of the women cried. "We were in this tavern playing trivia. The owner was acting strange with the questions, and then wouldn't let our friend leave. There are others trapped down there too." The officers descended the stairs while we remained at the top. "That doesn't look like any tavern to me," one officer called up. Dismayed, I descended to see for myself. He was right. The door opened into what appeared to be a basement, entirely devoid of any tavern-like furnishings, chairs, tables, any sign of recent occupancy. The floor was bare earth, the empty space providing no indication a tavern had operated there moments before. "Some kind of joke?" an officer inquired. "No, sir, we were just down here," I insisted. Like she said, other groups were with us, trapped inside. I smelled smoke. We tried to open the door but couldn't. The officers clearly doubted our account. And truthfully, how could they believe that an entire tavern vanished in minutes? After individual statements were taken, they addressed us collectively. "Unclear what occurred here, but your accounts align. I can confirm nothing has been down there in years. Certainly not a tavern. We'll investigate your missing friend and monitor missing persons reports in the area," an officer stated. I barely recall the journey home that night. The subsequent days blurred. Every Thursday I find myself drawn to the location of that trivia night, only to find the same desolate, decrepit basement entrance. My hope is that when Lucy's Tavern reappears, I'll be there to warn anyone contemplating a night of fun. And my advice: if you find yourself in unfamiliar trivia venues, ensure you win. And there we conclude our terrifying journey into Round 4 at Lucy's. A story that delves into the dark side of competition and the chilling consequences of venturing into the unknown. What happens when the pursuit of victory leads us into a trap we can't escape? How do we reconcile with the choices we make when our lives are on the line? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. If this tale has left you with a lingering sense of unease, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and activate the notification bell to join us on future journeys into the darkness. This is the Midnight Narrator signing off. Until next time, remember, sometimes the games we play are not games at all, and the stakes are far higher than we can comprehend.